Welcome to Dropping In, a podcast of storytelling and interviews with your host, Winter Olympian Mercedes Nicoll.
Thank you so much for dropping in. This is series 12, and I'm really excited because the first couple athletes that we have on, I've had on before. And we're going behind the scenes to talk to Team Canada's journey to Paris 2024. The triumphs, the nail-biting challenges. I mean, I'm ready for another Summer Olympics. I mean, they're the Olympics. They're not the Summer Olympics. We've covered that in this podcast before. July 26th to August 11th, 2024, all eyes will be on Paris as athletes from around the world gather to compete in the long-awaited non-COVID Olympics. The pandemic did put a wrench into things for athletes. It was a different games, but if it was their first time at those games, they didn't know any better. But this next guest, she knew. This is series 12. I'm so excited to have athletes join me again where I get to chat to them. Thank you for dropping in on series 12, episode 101. This is Monday, March 11th. Let me introduce the guest that will be returning. She was on episode 36. And if you haven't listened to that episode, you might want to listen to it first. So press pause, go to episode 36, catch up, and come back to this one because it's very exciting. Trust me. This two-time Olympian retired from artistic swimming after the Tokyo Games. She was and is becoming a doctor. And I've seen her in her scrubs because she's still giving back to the world of sport by sitting on the Canadian Olympic Athletes Commission with me and giving back so much more. And we will touch on that. Plot twist. This year, 2024, she is now a world champion and has qualified for her third Olympics. Not many people can say that they will be going to 3 Olympics. It's now my job to get to the bottom of how, why, when she decided to come out of retirement. And I'm very proud, friend. I totally cried when she told me in person. So hopefully I won't have any tears, just excitement because she's a world champion now. Let's get to this wonderful woman. This daughter friend is not only a junior world champion, she's a world champion, a 2-time Olympian in 2016 and 2021/2020 Tokyo, whatever that is. It's a complicated situation, those Tokyo Olympics. She's qualified for her third Olympics. Let's drop in right now with Jacqueline Simoneau. How are you?
Hi there.
Okay.
I'm good, thanks.
I didn't even want to talk about it before we got on here because I just wanted to say how proud I am of you. And holy moly, who comes out of retirement and then just becomes a world champion right away? You do. That's what happened.
Oh my goodness. Even just listening to her intro, it still doesn't feel real.
I think I said it a billion times because I'm so excited. Really, really proud of you. We are going to start off with the rapid fire questions. And if there's anything I learned from my last series where I didn't have any guests on, I just talked with ChatGPT, laid out a whole 10 episode series on my career. This is what I took from the goodness of ChatGPT. I asked it to ask me questions about 10 rapid fire questions for an artistic swimmer. So not my fault if they suck. That's what I'm doing. Are you ready for these?
Oh yeah, bring it on.
Okay, number 1, favorite music routine you've performed to?
I think it's going to be the upcoming music for the Paris Olympics. Technical
And
duet.
is that a secret?
It is a secret at the moment.
Okay. We're going to have to wait until Paris. Awesome.
Yeah.
Any clues?
If
Are
you
you
like
allowed to
Mission
give
Impossible movies, you will like the music.
Okay. Cool. I like that. Next question. Most challenging move to master?
Ooh, it's a T9. It's qualified under a degree difficulty of thrust level 9, which is the highest degree difficulty, and it's when you thrust up in the air,
Okay.
quite high, like armpit level out from your toes to your armpits, and then you catch instead of descending downwards, just catching mid-thigh level.
Oh, wait. So your head's in the water?
Yeah, your head's in the water, but everything else is out of the water.
Oh. And is that all on your own? Like no one's helping you?
Yeah, completely all on your own.
Oh, balls. Wow. What's it called? A T9? Or that's the
A
difficulty?
T9.
A
Yeah, it's a
T9.
difficulty and also called a T9.
You guys have a whole different lingo.
Yeah, we do. It's
That's awesome.
strange.
Okay, number 3, go-to performance ritual. Do you have one?
Oh, chocolate all the way.
Oh, yeah,
Every
yeah, we
time before
talked
I
about
compete,
that.
chocolate.
I forgot about that. And it was dark chocolate? Any kind of chocolate.
Milk chocolate, actually, but I'm also a fan of
Milk.
dark chocolate.
Hold on, I
Mhm.
dropped my pen. Milk chocolate. Milk chocolate. Okay. Number 4, biggest inspiration in the world of artistic swimming.
Ooh, I mean, where to start? There's so many icons in our sport. Um, Artistic swimming. Like Ona Carbonell, she's honestly a big inspiration, having somewhat gone through retirement and then coming back.
Oh.
I think I'd say is a big inspiration.
Okay, cool. Now that you've gone to 2 Olympics, dust off your shoulders, do you have a favorite Olympic memory?
Yeah, I think it's definitely my first Olympics so far. I mean, you hinted to this in somewhat
Yeah,
of the intro. It was a real Olympic Games, and
yeah.
the cafeteria, seeing athletes, being the games somewhat completely wide open, meeting people. That was definitely a highlight. Just sitting in the cafeteria and seeing the how grandiose the games are.
Right? I mean, I know. I try and, like, explain that to people that have not gone. And it's just like, just like it was our world. It's our world. It's like all the athletes coming together. It is pretty cool, and, like, to take a step back and think about that. It's very awesome.
Absolutely.
Number 4, biggest inspiration. Oh, no, 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 wait. Yeah. Oh, wait, no, I did that one. Sorry. Number 6, craziest. Yes, I like this. Craziest costume you've ever worn for a routine.
Ooh.
I mean, we've talked about the hair in the last episode, and I still can't get over that. But the craziest costume.
Oh boy. I think it might have been like my first Olympics in Rio 2016, where we had kind of these chains on our suit, and usually, on your bathing suit, you don't have anything that's kind of like hanging, but we had
Okay.
chains kind of hanging from our suit. So that was kind of the craziest bathing suit, I guess I'd say.
Okay, but I do wanna talk about the one that you just showed on your Instagram that had, like, names on it and everything. What was that one for?
Yes. Oh, yes. I think that's one of my favorite suits of all time.
Okay.
I got it created this year for one of the free solo suits,
Yeah.
the ones that I just recently competed at the World Championships with, and at a World Championships, as you know, Mercedes, you can't have your whole team and your people there with you. I mean, for
Yeah,
either
yeah, yeah, yeah.
financial constraints, accreditations, or whatnot. And there's been so many people throughout my career that I just wanted there with me in that moment that I
Yeah.
decided, you know what, why not have them with me on my suit? And so all those names were with me on that suit, and it just felt so special to be able to swim with that.
Oh my gosh, I love that. You are very thoughtful, a very thoughtful human. That's
It's
cool.
actually my fiance who came up with the idea.
Oh, I'm sorry, fiancé. Did
Yeah,
I know that? Did I know that?
surprise.
When did this happen? You're just trying to get me to cry on the podcast.
It happened actually after the World Championships. We took a little bit of a vacation up in Norway to go see the Northern Lights, and yeah, voila,
Oh my gosh. I'm not crying, you're crying.
dropping all these bombs on you today.
I'm fine, I'm fine. I'm really just, like, such a proud friend, it's awesome.
Aw.
Number 7, one word to describe the feeling of performing in front of a crowd.
Mm,
I know one word's
pride.
hard. Pride.
Mhm.
Oh, I like that. It is kinda daunting sometimes performing in front of a crowd, but I feel like you're under the water, but also when I was doing it, I was, like, in the zone, so I didn't even notice that they were there.
Yeah,
Do you
sometimes when you're
notice?
just competing, you have your blinders on, right? I mean, for
Yeah.
you especially, snowboard on being on a half pipe. I mean, you must because it's life or death in your situation. In ours, I mean, you forget something, okay, you get zeros, but
Yeah.
you have no choice but to be in that moment, in that zone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's wild. Okay, number 8, dream duet partner, past or present? Is that even a good question? Is that rude? Is that rude to
Oh,
ask?
am I gonna be able to I think
You don't
each
have to
partner
answer.
brings in their own something special. I mean, with Corinne, I was very fortunate to be able to learn from an Olympian during my first Olympic Games cycle, and she's taught me so much. And then
Okay.
my second Olympics, being matched with Claudia, she is a powerhouse, a fighter till the end. And
Yeah.
now this duet partner, I mean, I just see so much potential in this little Audrey, this kid. She reminds me so much of myself.
Amazing.
Um, Going through her work ethic, you have to tell her to stop sometimes and get out of the pool because she will be there until repeating movements until she can't get it wrong, and she's driven, this little one. So keep an eye out for her because you should definitely have her on next.
Okay, I love that. So cool. I mean, is it weird I want to talk about this later, but being a mentor now, it's very different, isn't it?
It's completely different. And I mean, the roles have turned around quite quickly. I remember speaking to you in an athlete's Ken for over
Yeah,
10 years ago now, I think,
I know
and
that
you
was a
telling
long
me
time ago.
it was a long time ago, and you telling me how it all just goes by so quickly. And I didn't believe you back then, but now I do.
I know. It's weird. It's wild. I know. There's a lot of advice that we get along the way that you're like, I don't know. And then you're like, oh, it only took me 10 years to figure out that that was right.
Yep.
Because I feel the same things with my teammates too. Okay, number 9, best piece of advice you've ever received.
Always remember your why, the purpose
Mm,
of why you're doing something,
yeah,
because I think that will drive you through those tough times.
very cool. Number 10, the last one of the rapid fire because it's been rapid because you've been here before. If you could perform a routine to any song, what would it be? Don't tell us what Paris is because I'm looking forward to this surprise.
Oh boy. Okay. Let's see here.
Would it be new? Would it be old? Fast? Slow?
Mm, that's a great question. You know what? I've always been a big fan of Michael Bublé, so something Michael Bublé. I swam to one of his songs. So he's Canadian. Love
Yeah.
it. And my parents always have like his music on during dinner, so something Michael Bublé.
I love that. I also love like the inside scoop of what your parents are listening to because my parents, I grew up with Meatloaf, like Bad Out of Hell.
Mm,
So it's very
yeah.
different. All right, that was the rapid fire. Now I need to get into you told us that you were coming back. When was that? In September. You were coming out of retirement, and I cried, and I was like so proud of you. But I don't know that we got down to the like, what was the deciding factor that you were like, nah, I'm coming back?
I mean, so many things. I mean, you know me, Mercedes. I'm a logical person. So at that point, it's been in the back of my head for a little while, and I'm a very pros and cons list girl.
Yeah,
So I had a pros and cons list, and there are just so many more pros and cons. Life is too short to have regrets.
yeah,
And I was ready to live up to any sort of situation, not qualifying to the Olympics, getting injured, not making through training, not being able to get back. I was able to accept all these different scenarios.
yeah.
Um, and I think just knowing that kind of put me at peace, going, you know what, I'm really just doing this for myself because I love the sport. I want to represent my country. Being at the Olympics, as you know, is just something so incredibly special. And
Mhm.
Tokyo is incredibly special, but as you mentioned, it was a COVID Olympics. It wasn't the same. It wasn't your traditional game. So to finish on a true Olympics, I think would be special.
Ah,
But one of them actually, which helped at the World Championships, was a new change of scoring system too. Um,
right.
yeah, so that changed completely. It objectified a lot more our sport. Whereas in the past, the judges are great; they're really well trained, but a lot of it was subjective, based on artistic impression and their interpretation of difficulty. Whereas now, there's numerical values attached to your degrees of difficulty. So if
Right.
you have a high degree difficulty routine and you perform it well, you should be able to get the results. And this paid off in Canada's favor, which is great.
I mean, in your favor, you crushed it.
Yeah, it's a team effort, right?
I know, but you're the one out there holding your breath for forever and doing T9s all over the place. Is that what I could say? I'm trying to be in your
Yes, I mean,
lingo.
look at you losing that lingo. That's perfect.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So let's just go back to after Tokyo 2021. You were like, when did you retire exactly? Was it right after those games? You're like, I'm done going to be a doctor. And what kind of doctor?
Yeah, I mean, after the Tokyo Olympics, I think our federation gave us like 2 weeks that we had to inform them by email, and it wasn't a lot of time to process. And honestly, I knew I was going to go to school,
Yeah.
and I didn't know if I was going to be able to balance both, and I didn't quite give me the opportunity to see if I was going to be able to do that. And at that point, I I was all in for school. I mean, I had to at that point. I felt like I had to.
Yeah.
So at that point, I put my name on the retiree list, and as you know, your name's taken off of anti-doping and everything, and if you wanna come back, well, the process is quite challenging.
Yeah.
So, it was, "You know what? Alright, I'm gonna go pursue my doctorate in podiatric medicine," and it's always been a dream of mine, and okay, it's been great, and I love every single minute of it, and honestly, I miss a little bit of it this year. But, after that first year, I knew I could totally do both at the same time,
Okay.
because of everything that we learned throughout sport, right? I mean, time management, we're the kings and queens of that
Yeah.
sports study now. So, um, yeah, that's a little bit why I retired. I guess it wasn't necessarily forced. I was happy with what I was able to accomplish, and I would have been happy if my career ended there too. But
Yeah.
why not go
Okay.
for another round?
So you had a year off, but in the back of your head, you're like, I could do it. Were you still fit and training, or were you in like full school mode? I mean, we could talk about the freshman 15.
Oh,
I don't
freshman,
know
like
what
maybe
happens.
25, 20, 25. I mean, you're talking about peak Olympic shape here.
I
And then you go to sitting on your butt for about 12, 18 hours a day in school. No, I was full on school mode, and yeah, okay, I went to the gym, 5, 6 times a week, but,
Yeah.
20 minutes, not training
Yeah.
40, 60 hours. It's totally different, and I did
Yeah.
that for 2 years. After the first year, I knew I could kinda get back, and that's when I learned about the whole doping control process, and then you had to put your name back on the list, and I
Mhm.
wasn't gonna be able to come back in time, so I was like, "Ah, you know what? It wasn't my time."
Okay.
So yeah, completely gained that freshman 15, maybe plus 5.
Okay, but wait, let's go back to the doping list because a lot of our listeners might not know how that
Mm,
works. So you can't just be like, "Hey, middle of the season, I'd like to jump back in and be competitive." So can you just touch on that a little bit for everyone that might not know the whole I mean, again, the doping system, you get your drug tested with your shirt up to below your breasts and your pants below your knees and there's someone watching you while you pee. So that's the least glamorous side, but scheduling wise, let's talk about that.
yeah, so for those listeners out there, we have an organization called WADA, which stands for the World Anti-Doping Agency, and, they're oversee, anti-doping within sport and multi-sports. And so essentially when you're a high performance athlete, your name is put onto this list and you're regularly tested, which could be any moment of your training or at school or any time. And once you, which I was not quite aware of, once I retired, your name is taken off this list, which means you are
Mhm.
no longer being, I guess, supervised or no longer being tested by WADA, which is fair because technically you're not competing anymore. But should you wish to return to sport, you do have to notify them, and it's quite a lengthy process with a lot of paperwork. And once you do notify them, then you get a written notice that you will be tested within a 6 month period, anytime, any day. And during those 6 months, you cannot compete. So you have to pass your doping control test within the 6 months. And after that, you do have the green light to be able to compete. So I did have to wait out a long period of time before actually being able to compete this year.
That's so good for other athletes to know that as well because I wouldn't have known that.
No, no, not at
And
all. I mean, we're on the athletes commission together, and yes, this is something that kind of we do somewhat oversee, but the nitty-gritty part, it doesn't happen to every athlete, so it's something
no.
that you'd really have to look into the fine print and really be notified with.
So when was that you found that out? That was 2 years
Um,
out.
yeah, so after my first year of retirement after school, there was a world championships that summer.
Yeah.
And some of the coaches were like, "Hey, you want to come back just for world championships, just for a solo event, or maybe even just duet?" I was like, "Yeah, you know what?
Wait,
I could do that."
please hold. Not everyone gets that opportunity. "Oh, would you like
That
to
is
just
true.
come back for world championships?" You're a big deal. Keep going.
No, no, but I mean, back then it was a really young team, and we were focusing on mainly just Olympic events and a lot of the team events, and so
Yeah, yeah.
um,
I'm
at that
tooting your
point.
horn for you. I'm tooting your horn for you. Toot, toot.
So I guess, yeah, that's when I kind of figured out, that was my only time where I had 2 months off of school, where you had a regular 2 semesters and then a summer off. That was my only summer off of school, and I figured, why not go back to
Yeah,
sport for that one summer? And
yeah.
that's when I realized that there's the whole 6 month process, and I would
Wah,
not have
wah,
been able to
wah.
compete. So, meh. And then June, I guess June 2023 is when I started to have these ideas. I gave a camp in South Africa with their Olympic duet there, and I kind of removed myself from sport quite a bit. I stayed in touch
Yeah.
with some other countries, helped them out, and I got in the water when I was in Cape Town, and I was like, you know what? I could still totally do this. Yeah, okay, I'm a couple of pounds heavier, but I mean, the
Yeah.
technique is still there. It's kind of like riding a bike. And that's when I looked into the process a little bit more and figured, you know what, if I could get ahead of this game and this timeline, well, it is feasible.
Yes. Oh my God, I love it. I love it. It is wild how muscle memory just comes right back. It is similar in my career from my crash, and I was just like, "Oh, I don't know." And then it was like, "Okay, game on." So June 2023, you got it more in your head. You already knew about the 6 months. And then when did you get back in the national team in the water? Like what was that process for you?
Yeah, it was actually quite a lengthy process,
Yeah.
because they had the Pan Am Games in Santiago in October/November. I didn't want to really interrupt like that team culture and kind of integrate myself right away. A, because I
Yeah.
wouldn't be allowed to compete, and two, just because you know what, they have their groove. You don't want to mess up their groove going
Yeah.
into what was Olympic qualification.
Yeah.
Um, so at that point, I was like, okay, well, I need to figure out something to do. So I was in school and in clinic, kind of finishing until mid-September, and after that,
Yeah.
the duet. So the athletes from the Czech Republic wanted me to come and coach them for the Argentina Open and leading up to the World Championships. And you know what? I kind of used it as my backup plan. So
Yeah.
I went to the Czech Republic for about a month. I coached them, I choreographed, and I loved it. It was a fantastic experience, kind of living over there. And I figured, you know, if my body's not able to withstand this coming back to training, well, I had this coaching gig to fall back on and until I fall
Yeah.
back into school.
Yeah.
But my body was totally fine. So I went also to Santiago, the Pan Am Games, as an athlete services officer for the COC. So I traveled around a little bit.
Yeah.
I kept myself busy, and throughout that time, I had a fantastic strength and conditioning coach named Sandra Gonzalez. And honestly, without her, would not be here today.
Yeah.
She created this fabulous plan where I really came back progressively. Um, so I'd be running sometimes in the middle of like Prague or Lausanne, and I'd be running and then holding my breath for like a minute while running and then
Yeah.
breathing again while running and just trying to get my body back used to this apnea.
Yeah.
So I was traveling a little bit, exercising, got to do some events with the IOC in Paris, and then got back in Montreal after the Argentina Open mid-November. And
Yeah.
that's when the trials were taking place for the World Championships team in Doha. And that's when it got real. That's when I actually started to get in the water and
Okay.
go back into a regular training regiment of, 40 to 60 hours.
And what was the time frame before World Championships that you were in
Yeah.
the water to World Championships?
So mid-November to
Yeah.
World Championships, which started on the 2nd of February. So not a lot of time, 2.5 months.
So cool. It's so cool. Like, I don't know. It's unbelievable. You know what I mean? Like, I don't, maybe you don't see it yet, but like once you look back and reflect and be like, "Oh yeah, like super casual, just, was retired, became a doctor, becoming a doctor. You were in scrubs and then you're like, I think I can do both. And I'm going to do both. Oh, let's get in the water in November. Let's just see how it feels. Let's start training. February, boom, world champ. What? Okay, let's talk about February and like what was going through your head becoming on the trail to world championships. Like, I love that you say, and I'm sorry I keep interrupting you, but I love that you said that you're like, I'm here to do this on my own terms. I've thought of the negative that can happen. Did you also think of the positive that could happen? Or was it just like, okay, this can happen, this can happen? Did you see world champs on your radar?
Somewhat. I mean, that at that point, after the team not qualifying at the Pan Am Games, I knew that this was our last chance to qualify for the Olympics. So I knew that that qualification was on the
You
line.
needed it.
Um, we desperately needed it, and I went into this saying, you know what, I'm okay with all these negatives that could happen, but I'm gonna do everything in my power to have absolutely no regret. And throughout the years, I've learned a lot about the importance of like athlete advocacy, and throughout your
Mhm.
career, you've gained experience. And yes, okay, positions such as HPDs and whatnot, they may have a certain direction, but I've actually learned to be able to have some of a partnership role
Yeah.
leading up to the World Championships and voicing, my opinion on certain decisions that were being made. Notably, creating new routines. That, in my opinion, if we wouldn't have changed certain routines or degrees of difficulty, we would not be on the road to the Olympics today. So I'm really proud
Okay.
of that, because that is something that I don't think I would have had the courage to do earlier on in my career. And it just goes to show that having those couple of steps back, being exposed to incredible, athlete role models like yourself, who've taught me, who have
Thanks.
paved the way for athletes to finally be able to have the courage and speak up in these scenarios, has allowed
Yeah.
athletes like myself and others to be able to achieve podium.
It's so cool to see it all come full circle like that. I mean, the thing for their listeners might not understand is how challenging it is to be an athlete. Um, I would say anywhere around the world, but obviously we are honing in on Canada, and it's hard to. There's so much that a national sport organization um, can give to you, but also that they can listen. And a lot of them don't quite listen yet, and there's not a voice heard by the athletes. So when you say leaving with no regrets, when you say I got to change the program because I used my voice, that is why you guys became world championship. You became a world championship because you had the guts to do it. And not many athletes have the Olympics underneath their belts to be able, and the experience underneath their belts, not just Olympics, to sit there and say, no, like, we need to do this. And you like put your foot down, because if we don't do this, we're not going to make it. And then you're not going to qualify. And you know best. And I think the athlete knows best most of the time, like what you need to do to qualify. You're seeing the rest of the fleet out there around the world, what they're doing. And if you disagree, it's okay to disagree. But
Absolutely.
it's good for them to listen, which sometimes is hard for them. Them being the national sports organization.
Yeah.
It is a whirlwind, isn't it?
It certainly is.
You must feel like so proud, and like I would want to talk about that mentorship, because 2 Olympics under your belt. You said you have a young partner in artistic swimming right now. Are you helping her see how helpful it is to raise your voice in the right way?
Absolutely. There's definitely things that you could say throughout a mentorship, but there's one thing to be able to demonstrate it and
Mhm,
show what
mhm.
it actually truly means. And I'm grateful for these opportunities, and maybe not super grateful for the challenges and the
Yeah,
obstacles along the way, but I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to show this next generation that it's okay to be able to voice your opinion. It's okay to disagree, and have a common objective and have different paths on how to get there and find some common middle ground to be able to still reach that objective.
yeah,
So that's definitely been a huge part of this mentorship role throughout the process is, yes, okay, being in that position, but also showing them by example.
yeah, yeah. Is it weird being a mentor? Like, are people calling you a veteran now? Because I was a veteran forever.
Oh, yeah, I've been a veteran now for what, 8 years? Yep.
Oh, man, it's too wild. I do wanna talk about, your giving back, not only as a mentor, um, in your sport, but we both sit on the Canadian Olympic Athletes Commission, so we are helping Canadian Olympians in that retrospect, um, and you've put your schooling on the side from what I can understand right now. How was that too? Were they fine with that? They're like, "Oh, just go to an Olympics, it's okay."
Honestly, I was really apprehensive. I was going
Mhm.
into this meeting with the director of my program, this past summer,
Yeah,
being like, "This is either gonna be great or not great. Like, this is gonna probably be shut down."
yeah,
But it actually turns out the director of my program, so the medical program that I'm in, it's quite challenging. It's competitive. They don't really let you take gap years in the middle of this because it's all planned out, your internships, your rotations and everything. So
yeah,
unless you're essentially the meeting we got when we first got into the program is, unless you're pregnant or unless you're getting run over by a tractor and you're in the
yeah.
hospital, there's no way for you to extend your degree. Um, so I went
Okay.
into this meeting being quite apprehensive, and
Yeah.
it actually turns out that the director of my program was actually an ex-athlete himself,
Okay.
competed for the French Olympic team, and then completed his studies. So he completely understood that drive and that flame and that passion. I think it was able to come through on that call, and he
Lucky.
supported the decision 100%. And I just felt a huge weight lifted off my shoulders at that point to be able to know that I have the support from my school, from my university, from my
Wow.
program to be able to
Yeah.
go pursue this dream one last time.
Okay, what if it wasn't an athlete that was in that role? What do you think do you think it would be different? Like, I don't know.
I It's hard to say because, I haven't gone through this, but I'd have certainly, and I'm sure you have throughout your career, you've met either professors or people who just maybe don't understand the sporting world and the demands,
Yeah,
and they just don't get it. I had college teachers back in the past who thought I was going on vacation in France
right.
for a World Cup. Like, it's not a vacation, you know?
I know.
Um,
Yeah, I've had
no,
friends say that to me. They're like, "Have fun on your vacation." I'm like, "If only you." I'm like, "Do you wanna come to the gym with me? Like, it's not that fun." Do you
no, no,
Bless their hearts. They'll
yeah.
know one day. I don't know how they'll know. Okay, wicked support, and now I wanna touch on your volunteering because in our last episode that you were on, you were volunteering, like, Make-A-Wish Foundation, like, everywhere. So what have you honed it in a little or I mean, you're a busy woman. How do you fit everything in? What are you doing? What are you
Time
doing?
management, I guess. Just finding things that you're super passionate about. I think you're definitely going to find place in your schedule for it all to work out.
Yeah,
Right now, I'm spending a lot of time, with the COC Athletes Commission. There's certain projects I think that we're both individually passionate on and trying
yeah.
to work on these specific realms. I got selected into the IOC Young Leaders Program, so working on my project as well. That's taking up a lot of the time this year, and
Okay,
then other
wait.
events that I could squeeze in.
Hold on. Hold on. People might not know what the IOC Young Leaders
Mm,
is. So break
right.
that down for everyone.
Yeah. So the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, they have this program called Young Leaders Program where they fund 25 individuals, doesn't have to be athletes, worldwide, um, to be able to build projects that align with the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals. So
That's
mine
a
is touching.
mouthful. That's a
It
mouthful.
is quite a mouthful. Yeah, so the IOC Young Leaders project that I'm working on right now is has something to do with my sport, artistic swimming. One of the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals is gender equality, and
Yeah.
something that's a little bit ironic in our sport is that it's predominantly a female dominant sport. And we're
Yeah.
looking to grow the male contingency, especially to keep our sport in the Olympics, to have 50-50 gender. And across the Americas at the moment, we're quite behind compared to Europe and Asia. We don't have a big male contingency in our sport. So
Mhm.
really just to grow our sport in terms of the male contingency. And then another one of the UN Sustainable Development Goals that I'm touching upon is, health and wellness and keeping girls healthy and active in sport. Because what we do see a lot is a huge drop off rate around the age of 15 and 16 in our
Yeah.
sport. And it'd be nice to be able to retain these athletes because a lot of them have a lot of potential and reach that higher level. So to be able to create these gender inclusive camps, to be able to give them all the tool sets that they need to be able to succeed in sport, but also throughout life, and have
Cool.
these kind of bi-yearly camps.
Love that. Okay. And the one thing that sparked in my mind here is that obviously financial resources are challenging for athletes. How much does it cost to be an artistic swimmer? You need a pool?
You need a pool. To
Yeah.
compete, you need bathing suits that cost a lot of money.
Okay.
Um, yeah, pool, some coaches, and then all your training gear. And then if you want to be able to make it to the Olympics or qualification events, well, you need to be able to compete on a World Cup circuit, and that
Yeah.
costs money, of course, too. So
Yeah. Yeah.
there's a whole realm of
Of it all.
finances that are involved to be able to
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
make it
Yeah.
to this level.
And at grassroots, if someone wanted to get into artistic swimming, what would be your recommendation there?
I'd say come out and try it. Hopefully, at one of
Yeah,
these IOC Young Leaders camps, try it out for free. See if you like
totally.
it. Meet some other fun athletes from this sport or other sports, and see if it's for you. It has that
Totally.
fun artistic component, and just give it a try.
I love it. Okay, and then you could be the one that is spouting pride in the pool when you see all of those amazing people in the crowd watching you at the Olympics. We've learned so much. I did forget about the chocolate. You love chocolate right before. I can't wait to hear your Paris music, and I think the listeners will be tuning in to the Paris 2024 games. What do you have coming up that we should be watching out for?
Yeah, we have our whole World Cup circuit this year leading up to the Paris Games. So we're going to the Hungarian Open in April, the French Cup in Paris, and then another Hungarian World Cup, and
Okay.
another one that I'm forgetting, one in Markham in Canada. So if you're in the general
Oh.
GTA area, come and watch us out in Markham for the
Yeah.
Artistic Swimming World Cup.
When's that one?
I believe
In the summer. I'm going with summer. No. The Olympics are in the summer.
it is.
Google. Well, everyone can Google it. If they're in the area,
Everyone can,
Google
but
it.
I'm going to give you those exact dates right now. Let's see. Canada World Cup from May 30th to June 2nd.
Oh, you're so organized. I love it. Where can people find you online if they want to follow you?
Yeah, you could find me. I'm most active on Instagram, Jacqueline_Simoneau. If not on Twitter, Jackie_Simoneau, or add me on Facebook or on LinkedIn.
Awesome. And go watch her. If you're in that area, definitely do. I wish I could see you do it in person, but I just watch your videos. It's amazing. Thank you so much for dropping in today. It's always good to see your face.
Oh, likewise. Thanks so much for having me, Mercedes.
I have one more question. How does it feel having qualified for the Olympics going into a World Cup circuit? Are you like, meh, I'm good? Or are you like charging still? Obviously, you're still
We are
charging.
charging, guns blazing
Yeah.
all the way to the Olympics. I mean, we
Yeah.
have nothing to lose at this point, just giving it our all. No regrets going into this Olympics.
It's going to be so exciting to watch. Carefree, going into the World Cups. Love it. And already qualified. Congratulations. And we'll see you in Paris.
Thank you so much
for dropping in today. You can find everything you want to know about Dropping In with Mercedes at droppinginwithmercedes.com. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Thanks DJ Kenosis for the music and my mom for the intro voice.